Once again, folks, I find myself tinkering with the Weber IDF carburetors I have on my 1974 Volkswagen Beetle because once again, it's not running right. It was all right, and then all of a sudden it fell off a cliff again because the jets keep getting blocked up. So I don't know what is going on with it, to be honest with you, but there is another modification I'm going to try on them now, and by all accounts, it can be quite successful. So let's give it a go. First thing to do, get these carburetors off the engine. Okay, so you'll see I have the carburetor off and on the bench here. This is a vacuum takeoff, by the way, for anybody who's wondering, on the side here for the brake booster that's in the car. And you will also notice these little stand pipes as well, which is another modification that I've done, which you can actually see in previous videos. I'll put a link in the description below. It does seem to be effective. The carburetors were running all right, but they're just not good enough. So next thing I need to do is take off the carb top, and that is done by removing these 5 screws. And obviously when the jets are out, you're going to be cleaning them and everything as well. I mean, you don't take jets out and not give them a blowout. Now, this modification is not for the faint of heart, but if you just take your time and you kind of understand what it is you're actually trying to achieve, it can come good for you. There's a bit of drilling of castings and stuff like that involved. If that's not for you, then, you know, fair enough, I can understand that, but I'm at wit's end with these things, so I'm going to just try it. To be honest with you, I just don't think Weber carburetors are actually good carburetors. I mean, to tell you the truth, my experience of them has been pretty bad. I mean, other people swear by them. I don't. I'd sooner have spent the extra few quid and gotten a set of Delortos if I'd known. But I didn't, so I didn't. Okay, so now, when you're lifting the carb top off, you have to take the gasket with it, because otherwise you'll ruin the gasket because it gets bound up by the float. Now, we're not going to be doing anything with the carb top in this project. The gasket's actually slightly torn there. See if I get a new one of them at some stage. For the moment anyway, we'll just put it aside. So now I'm going to empty the fuel out of this. Now, full credit for this video goes to a chap who calls himself Daily Driven VW Bug, who came up with this particular modification I'm about to do, and I've seen a couple of people mention it on the Samba, that it is a very effective mod. So I'm going to give it a go myself. Now what I'll do is I'll link to the original video that I watched down in the video description. So if you want to go and check out his video, by all means do, and subscribe to him while you're there as well, because if this works, then happy days. If it doesn't, I'll tell you anyway. So I'm going to try and go some way towards explaining what the issue is here, as has been identified by Daily Driven VW Bug. So basically the idea here is that at the bottom of where the jets go is where the fuel is taken. And if you look down there at the very bottom of the float chamber, the lowest points, there are holes there, and that's where the fuel goes when it's being picked up. Now, when you're on wide open throttle and the mains are pulling a heap of fuel, it robs fuel from the idle jets. Now, this is the theory. Whether you agree with it or not is not really what I'm looking for here, you know. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm skeptical myself to a certain degree, but I'm still willing to give it a go. The idea he had was to block the passage that goes over to the idle jets, and actually drill a new hole in the float bowl for the idle circuit, so that it can take fuel from a separate point in the float bowl. So there's a bit involved in that, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be accessing the idle circuit, we're going to be drilling a hole in it, we're going to be basically plugging up the link between the idle and the main circuit, and then we're going to be plugging the hole we made in the first instance. And once we have all that done, then we should be pretty good. So let's get stuck in. So first thing we need to do is, if you look on this side of the carburetor, you will see there is a little kind of a dimple there. Now sometimes you'll have a brass or an aluminium plug. These carbs don't, so that means that I have to go drilling here. Otherwise, the job would be an awful lot easier. You'd be able to actually punch the plug through, and that'd be half the job done for you. But because we don't have that, and because we have to go drilling, that's just the way it is. So I'm going to actually, the reason I kind of left it on the manifold here is because I'm going to clamp it in the vise, and that'll help support things for us. So now, first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to drill these ports out, okay? Now, I'm going to go all the way through until the drill is actually coming out the far side of where the main jet stacks go. So we're going to start with a smaller drill. Now, you do need a steady hand on this, and you're going to need a Dremel as well. So if you don't have a Dremel, I suggest you pick one up or borrow one or something. Just take your time. Okay, so we've made a start there, so I'm going to drill the other one there as well. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard because the chuck of the drill gets in the way. But what we can do is you can either use the Dremel, put the drill in the Dremel and use that, or you can try and clamp it further down, which I might actually just do for the moment. Okay, now obviously you're going to get swarf. I mean, it kind of goes without saying that you're going to need to clean that off as well. So you're going to need a blowgun too. So there's a few bits and pieces that, you know, as I said, it's not a novice job, and I'm a novice doing it. So now, okay, right, we're going to step up to a larger drill size there now. Alright, so this is a 3.5 drill, so there we go. And we are through to inside the carb there now. So we're going to do the same on this side, and we'll blow it all out then, and then we'll go into the inside of the carb then, and you'll see what's going to happen then. Okay, so if you see these two little plugs here and here, not every carburetor has them, okay? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to remove those, okay? So what I would suggest you do is use a very, very small drill to make a hole in them and get a self-tapping screw in and just pull them out, okay? So we're going to do that on both of them, okay? Okay, that's those two done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get my self-tapping screw, thread it in there. Don't have to go too mad on it, and just use the pliers. And pull it out. Simple as. So that's one done. Do the other one now. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that I took the carb off the manifold, and the reason being is that it's easier to work on a flat surface at this point. So now I'm going to show you where we actually need to make our hole now inside the carburetor. This is the daunting bit because of the fact that it's actually quite difficult to drill a hole down inside in here, okay? So it took me, to tell you the truth, I wouldn't say butchered, but I didn't do a very tidy job on the first carburetor, so I'm hoping I'll do a nicer job on this one. So the reason we opened up this one is because if you draw an imaginary line down through, as if you're following that port down, that joins up here with the with this stack. Okay, so there's a drilling that comes along here, but there's also a lower one that we've made now as well, which actually comes out down around here, down in the very bottom, and that's where the main jet picks up its fuel from. And the idle jet would pick up his fuel from there as well, but it's not going to anymore. So what we're going to do is we are going to scribe a line down that using a straight edge of some description, and we're also going to make a mark about 10 millimeters up from the base of the carb along this plane here. Okay, so yeah, what I will use to make my 10 mil mark is I'm actually just going to drop a 10 mil nut down inside there and scribe it there, and then scribe another line down there using a straight edge, and then the intersection point we basically need to drill into that cavity there. Now what we will need to do is we'll need to go down through there with a drill as well. I think there is a very fine hole in there anyway, but what we'll do is we'll end up widening that up. So let's do that. Okay, so what I'm using here is a little kind of a burr basically. That's what they call them. And I am notching out a little crevice in the inside. I like that word, crevice. I'm not notching out a little crevice in the side of the carb float bowl. And what I'm doing is I'm going to that'll basically allow me to get the drill in at that point, and hopefully drill a reasonably neat hole. Certainly neater than the last carburetor anyway. But we'll say no more about that. So, right now, drills. This lad here, right? The chuck in my Dremel can take. Well, there's different chucks, and it can take. This one can take a drill as well. So we're gonna stick this in here. Now, be careful drilling. You do not want to break a drill bit off in this, because Weber carburetors are quite expensive. If you've made a balls of it, well, then you've made a balls of it, really. So what we're going to try and do now is, let's see. I'll show you now what we're dealing with. Now, you'll see the swarf that's in there, but I mean, that's to be expected. So if you look down the sidewall of the carburetor, I'll use my pick or my scribe again to show you. You'll see there, that's one of the notches, and it's the same on the other side. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use our drill to try and get them in a bit deeper, so that they interface with the channel that's well, it interfaces with that channel, and then hopefully what we can do then is run our drill down through that hole there to match up with the hole down there, and job will be a good one. So we'll get stuck in and try and do it. Alright, so you'll see that the holes, such as they are, have been drilled. Not the neatest job either, to be fair, but look, it'll do. And what has happened now is the passages are opened up into here and into here. Okay, so next thing to do is what we're going to do is we're going to tap these holes, and we're going to get some set screws, and we're going to put them in there, and we're going to wind it in so that it blocks the passage past that hole, so that the fuel isn't going to be coming from the main. And then we're going to get another set screw, and we're actually going to plug these off, and then that'll basically have that finished. So yeah, a little bit more to do, but we're definitely making headway here. So we'll keep going undeterred. Okay, so it's the next day, and my workbench gets messier by the minute, but we are definitely making headway here. So what I've done is I've actually tapped out these two holes, and I've now got a plug down inside there, which I made a set screw. I just cut a bolt and just cut a slot in it for the screwdriver, and it's about 1/4 inch long and sits down in there nicely, and it's threaded down into the hole. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another one, which will cap off the hole, and we'll put a little bit of tread lock on that one so that it'll stay in place. So let's keep going and do that. I also kind of made some sort of an attempt to dress up the holes that I made. I know they look gouged, but in actual fact they do. They go exactly where they need to go inside the carburetor. So that's positive. I mean, that's really what we're looking for here. So yeah, let's just get our little grub screw made up. Set screw, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so the two ports are plugged off there now. So now when I blow down here, the air should only come out at the bottom of the idle or the main jet stack, which it does. Now obviously I need to spend a bit more time deswarfing everything, and there's no air coming out in the holes I made, which is exactly what we want. So that area is plugged off between here and here now. So now, if we blow in through here, we are... Let's see. Let's see now. I'm just trying to think now. So if we blow down through here, you should feel the air coming out down the bottom. Do. And if we blow in through the port where the idle jet goes, we also feel the air coming out of there and through both holes. So that means that the idle passages are all clear. Okay, so Alright. So now we can now cap off that port at the very bottom there now as well. So that will like these ones here, and what we'll do is we'll try and put a bit of petrol in here and see if the carb is all right, which it should be at this stage. Alright, so you'll see the little set screw I've made up is just there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little drop of Loctite on that there now before I thread it in all the way. It's a red Loctite, so it's strong stuff. It's kind of what we want in this instance. And tiniest little bit. Alright, so that is plugged there now. So we're going to do the same on this side, and then we need to wait for the Loctite to cure, and we'll have a look at the carbs and see how we're looking then. Okay, so I have everything pretty much finished here. I think that came out pretty tidy on the outside anyway. Maybe they wouldn't say the same for the inside. But anyway, look, it's okay. Let's get it put back together again, refit it onto the manifold and refit this to the car, and we'll see how we go on the other side as well. Okay, so I just have a bit of petrol sitting in the float bowl here now, so we're going to just leave it be for a few minutes and see if see how everything's looking here on this. I mean, ideally I would have left the Loctite to go off, but I'm very, very impatient, to be honest with you. So let's just see how we go here now. The two accelerator pumps are working all right anyway, so that's a good sign. And the two blanking plugs are bone dry down there as well, so that's also a good sign. So yeah, I think look, let's get this one put back together again and get it back in the car. So I'll empty this petrol out. I'm kind of using this to flush it as much as anything else. Oh, by the way, anybody wondering about those two holes that are now open, they're going to be covered by the gasket first of all, and secondly, on older carburetors they actually were open from the get-go anyway, so I'm going to just leave them open. There's a little bit of trial and error in this. Look, if I feel that the need to close them up at a later stage, I can always do that. Anytime you're bolting up a flange, it's always a good idea to use a cross pattern tightening it down. I know they say you definitely have to do that on a cylinder head, but I do it for other things as well. Okay, so it's the moment of truth. The carburetors are back on and connected up and everything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the key on and I'm going to let the float bolts fill up. I'm going to come back, leak check everything, make sure everything is looking all right, and then we're going to go for a start. And if all goes well, I'm cautiously optimistic, and I brought the keys out for the MG to move it out of the way so we can get the car out for a spin. Let's see how we go. Alright, there's the fuel pump on, obviously. Just making sure there aren't any leaks, and I'm not seeing anything yet. Okay, let's go for a start and see how we get on. I am thinking I'm going to have to make a couple of adjustments though, but we'll see how we go. Okay, as I said, a couple of adjustments are obviously needed, but I'm just having a quick look to see if there's anything amiss here, and it all looks okay. So we'll try again. It's really cold in here, by the way, so give it a bit of time. think I'm making headway here. The air filters are back on, and have a listen. Not bad. Needs a fine tune, but I want to take it for a spin first and just make sure everything is 100%, and then we'll go from there, because there's no point trying to kind of tune it up without first blowing the cobwebs off it. I want to get a bit of heat into the cylinders as well. Alright, let's go for a spin. I have the window open because I can't close the damn thing. I put a set of speakers in the front of the car, but I think I might have used a screw that was too long, so it's fouling on the mechanism. You'd think you'd check these things beforehand, Ross, but no. Anyway, we'll fix it. It's not ramping down as cleanly as it should. We'll have to have a look at that. Right, let's see. It's not pulling as well as it should either. Throttle, it's very smooth, I have to say. So there's definitely been improvements made, but I'd say the jet size is just too small on the mains now. Yeah, it's kind of it's dropping out in a higher RPM, and then it's kind of running on a bit in like when you let off the throttle. It's not returning to an idle very easily. So, but that misfire that's between that's in the transition between the idle and the main is gone. Yeah, it's completely gone actually. God, it's cold. I wish I could roll up the window. Yeah. When I stamp on the throttle, it's just dropping out. But it will spin up if I go a bit easier on it, like there. It's still going all right. It's just it's not perfect. So a bit of tuning needed there. So you know, I mean, look, that's what we're in for here. You know, I mean, we kind of knew that this was going to be the case. I have to say, part throttle driving is really good. That's the one thing I've found, and that was where the big problem was in this. Like, it's effortless. I mean, it's really smooth. And it certainly wasn't like that before, I can assure you. Yeah, it falls on its arse if you really stamp on the throttle. Could be too rich actually. Because if I stamp on the throttle, the accelerator pump is going to give it a shot of fuel as well, so that could be a big factor here. Right, let's see what we can do about getting the idle speed down and getting it at least we'll get one side of the spectrum done, and then what we may have to do is just reject the mains, bring it down to size and see how it goes. But certainly this mod has made the engine so much nicer to drive. already. I mean, aside from obviously when you want to accelerate hard, but you don't always want to accelerate hard. What you want is a car that's usable as a daily, where you can jump into it and drive it, and you know, it's a comfortable car to drive. So at the moment now, the idle speed is in around right, but let's just see if I can tweak it. I can tell you now, this car never idles this well. That's sounding great. So there's still a bit to do. I still have to rejet the mains, which is going to take a little bit of time because I need to get the jets. I haven't got them, and we need to have a look and see what's the best way of going about that. But it is definitely it's going pig rich when it's on the mains. So I'd say it's really just flooding out the engine a little bit. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll get that tackled at a later stage. But for the moment anyway, let's call this a win, because that's definitely, I'm really happy with that now, you know. So yeah, let's leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, folks. Please do hit the subscribe button before you go, and I shall chat to you in a future video. Thanks for watching.